Every ecosystem has a unique soundscape that is composed of many sources, including those that are biotic and those that are abiotic. Biotic noise sources are sounds that are produced by living things, such as animal vocalizations. Abiotic sources are sounds in an environment that are made by non-living things, such as weather and running water. These elements are just some of the many individual noise-emitting pieces of an environment that makes up its unique soundscape. Thousands of species across the globe rely on sound to navigate, hunt, and communicate. To understand how animals are able to utilize sound, it's important to first understand the range and limitations of acoustic propagation. Sound is made up of and travels in waves. These waves come in different shapes and sizes depending on what the initial disturbance was. A wave's amplitude determines how loud the sound will be. The taller the wave, the louder the sound will be. The distance between peaks, or the wavelength, will determine the frequency of a wave, which is how high or low the pitch of the sound is. Longer wavelengths will have a lower pitch, and shorter wavelengths will produce higher pitches. Certain frequency ranges have specific properties that make them useful for specific tasks. For example, higher frequency sounds tend to bounce off of surfaces, whereas lower frequencies pass through many objects and thus travel much longer distances. For example, some animals, such as bats, use echolocation to navigate dark spaces and hunt their prey. They emit very high frequencies that can bounce off of their prey and surroundings and then back to their ears. If the sound they emitted is too low, the wave may not reflect back to them, and they will miss vital information about the environment around them. Alternatively, elephant herds often split into smaller groups as they travel to find resources. To communicate with other groups across long distances, they produce very low-frequency sounds called infrasound that can be perceived by other elephants over 10 kilometers away. Specific soundscape conditions make this reliance on sound an effective survival tactic for many animals, but these species could be less vulnerable if sound conditions in their environment change. While an environment soundscape is made up of the individual biotic and abiotic elements within it, the culmination of all of these sources is what makes a unique soundscape. That is, while each individual element is important, it is the way that these sources interact and adapt to each other that makes a soundscape unique. In fact, the individual sources that contribute to the overall soundscape may differ significantly in some environments than others. Many animals may vocalize differently, depending on if they sense predators close by. There are many environments whose unique soundscapes have facilitated specific adaptations. For example, underwater environments are especially impacted and oftentimes reliant on their acoustic conditions due to the physics of acoustic propagation in denser aquatic mediums. Dingwall found that different sources impacted sound levels very differently, reporting that bearded seals and wind speeds in some underwater environments increased sound levels, while air temperature and ice presence decreased the overall sound level. While each soundscape is unique, underwater soundscape is primarily considered to be dictated by a few key sources, which have been described by the Wend's curve model. This curve is shown on a graph with frequency on the x-axis and sound pressure level on the y-axis. This curve suggests that seismic activity and shipping levels are the primary contributors of noise at low frequencies, while the mid and upper frequency ambient sounds are influenced by wind speeds and overall sea state conditions, like wave choppiness and temperature. This curve indicates just how much impact human activity, like shipping level, plays on the modern ocean soundscape. Knowing this, we can compare the frequencies impacted by shipping level with the frequencies often used by organisms, such as the humpback whale song. This particular whale communicates primarily using frequencies under 1000 Hz, which the Hens model predicts would be most impacted by shipping levels. This kind of research helps conservation efforts know what frequencies are most likely to be impacted by environmental variation, as well as what frequencies will have the direst environmental consequences if they were to suddenly change. Acoustics is also fundamental in ornithological research, as many birds rely on vocalizations for communication in many important areas of their life cycle. Gask et al. Explains in their article about future directions for soundscape ecology the importance of acoustic research in many sub-interests of ornithology, that in terms of avian bioacoustics, soundscape ecology offers a wealth of raw natural recordings that can place avian vocalizations in the context of additional acoustic information and non-acoustic metadata. For ecological and behavioral studies, soundscape recordings can be used to examine the phenology of avian activity patterns. The geographic diversity of soundscape recordings also offers the potential to conduct large-scale, high-resolution studies of avian ranges and/or habitat preferences. Many of these acoustic relationships can be monitored using tools such as microphones or hydrophones, which are used for recording and monitoring sound. Recording frequency, loudness, and time are the primary functions of many sound level meters. This data can be displayed in different formats to gather specific information about the recorded sound. This spectrogram plot displays all three variables in one plot. Time is along the x-axis, the frequency is on the y-axis, and the sound pressure level, or loudness, is denoted by the color. Looking at specific patterns in this data could help identify specific behaviors, activities, and variability, such as feeding crustaceans or Canadian geese migration. Cross-referencing acoustic data with other environmental data, like wind speed or rainfall measurements, can confirm how environmental variability impacts the sound profile of an environment. There is a lot of data already being collected about the environment, not necessarily for acoustic or environmental monitoring, that could be used for monitoring purposes. Many bathymetric maps are developed using side scanning or synthetic aperture sonar. Both of these techniques use transducers that send and receive acoustic signals to map the sea floor and detect other objects. Some researchers think that this kind of data collection could provide more information than just information about the sea floor, especially with sedentary organisms like mussel beds. As technology advances in this kind of equipment, population size and growth could be better monitored through routine measurements already being taken in this way. Acoustic monitoring of an environment's soundscape can provide much more information about an environment than just what a particular organism sounds like. Sound is interrelated and connected to environmental conditions like wind, rain, seismic activity, and air quality, as well as organism activities, migration, and population dynamics. Monitoring an environment's soundscape can be used as a metric for understanding the health of that environment.